This is a presentation about flood insurance as well as flood safety for the Tucson area. We have included multiple agency and jurisdictions, including town of Oro Valley, town of Sahuarita, town of Marana, Pima County Regional Flood Control District, as well as the Arizona Department of Insurance and Financial Institutions. My name is Elizabeth, and I am at the City of Tucson. We'll also be presenting. The City of Tucson's goal is to reduce flood and erosion hazard risks and reduce and lower the costs associated with those hazards. This presentation will cover various topics, including considerations for obtaining flood insurance, municipal contact information and resources from the state office, and information about insurable property for flood insurance. The federal FEMA floodsmart.gov website information will cover flood and erosion hazard risks associated with our individual communities, and we'll talk about the various types of flood zones, how to reduce your risk, and how to obtain flood status or flood zone determinations. And we'll touch on wildfire and debris and mud flow. Please save your questions to the end of each presentation. You can add your comments or questions in the chat box, or you can raise your hand, and we'll be answering questions after each presentation. Our presenters are myself, Elizabeth Eberbach. I'm a civil engineer at the City of Tucson. Carrie O'Brien from the is a public information officer and communication manager at the Arizona Department of Insurance and Financial Institutions. Dennis Roberts is a stormwater utility division manager at the town of Oro Valley. Ed Eastburn is the certified floodplain manager at the town of Marana. Dr. Greg Sachs is the CRS coordinator for Pima County Regional Flood Control District. And Nalo Nalavale is the director of public works at the town of Sahuarita. And I'll be presenting his information. Our first presenter is Carrie O'Brien with DIFI.
Hello, everyone. Thank you. As Elizabeth introduced, I am Carrie O'Brien. I'm the Public Information Officer and Communications Manager with the Department of Insurance and Financial Institutions. Next. We are a state agency. We're responsible for regulating the insurance and financial entities that are doing business within the state. And this slide outlines a little bit about what we do on the insurance side of things, specifically licensing all types of insurance companies and agents, monitoring the financial health of insurers, and reviewing types of insurance contracts before insurers can offer them. We have a system in place to investigate complaints and answer consumer questions as well. Next. So our oversight over flood insurance specifically varies a little. We don't regulate government insurance programs. So the NFIP, the National Flood Insurance Program you may have heard about, is actually done through FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency. NFIP stepped up to sort of fill a gap when private insurance companies would not cover the flood insurance. So this is a government-sponsored insurance program. Some agents are licensed in Arizona to sell NFIP insurance. So again, it's important to remember that we don't regulate the insurance part of it, but we do regulate the agent side if needed. So we can investigate like a complaint or for an insurer if needed. We also license and regulate a small number, and it's about 5 to 10 Arizona insurers who sell private flood insurance, which would be separate from the NFIP insurance. Next. Can we go to the next slide, please? Thank you. So just a little few facts here. Flood insurance is not just an overflowing body of water. If you're seeing standing water, like pooling around your neighborhood, storm grates filling up, things like that, those all have the potential to overflow and flood towards your house or into your house. And if standing or flowing water comes into your house at ground level from any source, that's likely considered flood by your insurance company and it won't be covered. So you want to make sure that you do some research to find out if you are in a high risk area for flooding. And we'll have some information on that. Some key takeaways from today would be that flood insurance is not covered by regular homeowners insurance. It is actually separate. And there are some stipulations around that, a waiting period and such that we'll talk about. And another key takeaway is that flood follows fire. We've obviously had a couple dry years here and seen a lot of wildfires. And it's important to know that the land changes when there's been a fire. It actually kind of scabs over. So that it modifies the soil to the point where it becomes hydrophobic, meaning it repels water almost like concrete. Can we go to the next slide? And this slide kind of illustrates that they're called burn scars, where the soil becomes, again, water repellent, and it drastically increases the risk of flash flooding and debris flow for up to about 5 years. So if you think of maybe the Catalinas or something there on the north side, if something were to catch fire up there, you've got increased risk down lower in the foothills. Next slide. So again, just some stats, 5 years is about how long it takes before that increased risk of flooding starts to subside. And I know this slide says 2024. I didn't have a chance to update that, but I did check the stats and the percentage is still alarmingly low. It is still less than 4% of the homes right now have outside flood insurance in a high risk flood zone. So we'll go to the next slide. So we'll talk a little bit about why is it important to research flood insurance. Again, as we mentioned, flood can happen if storm drains back up in your area, which enables the water to pool and possibly rise to a level that enters your garage or your home. Floods can happen if there's a microburst that overwhelms our hard-packed caliche and it doesn't absorb fast enough. Poor drainage in landscaping could possibly lead to flooding or water coming into your home. And next slide, please. So again, fire season's already here and monsoon's quickly approaching. So if you are considering flood insurance, the time is now. Again, this year we're talking about a possibility of a super El Nino in the autumn or fall, which would potentially bring in more water. But there is a waiting period. It's a 30-day waiting period. So that's why we encourage everyone to do it as quickly as possible. There are some rare exceptions to the waiting period, but they are established by the feds. So don't delay, check it out now. And next slide, please. I'm just going to let these slides speak for themselves. That was a lot. We actually went up to the Disaster Assistance Center after this happened to try to help people. And it's really hard to tell someone that there's really not much we can do because they didn't have insurance. These are multi-generational homes. Maybe they were paid off, so they didn't need to carry insurance. And again, real world example, we would encourage everyone to at least investigate, see what it means for you. It could save you a lot. Next slide. So if you're interested in buying flood insurance or researching it, check out your risk at floodsmart.gov and call your homeowner's insurance agent now. Again, don't wait. You got 30 days minimum to wait. So, next slide. And again, just more information about the NFIP Flood Smart program. Thank you.
Are there any questions in the box, Krishana?
No, there are no questions.
Our next speaker is Dennis Roberts with the Stormwater Utility Division Manager Management in the town of Oro Valley.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dennis Roberts. I'm the Stormwater Utility Division Manager for the town of Oro Valley. Thank you for joining us today for this year's Regional Flood Information Meeting. I'll be sharing how Oro Valley manages flood and erosion hazards, how you can check a property's floodplain status, and where to reach us if you need assistance. Next slide. The Stormwater Utility Division is responsible for managing drainage systems throughout Oro Valley. Our goal is to reduce the risk from both flooding and erosion, protect public infrastructure, and support safe development practices. Because our community sits at the base of the Santa Catalina Mountains, the terrain creates unique challenges, particularly with erosion after storm events. Next slide, please. I want to briefly explain our CRS participation status, since this is a common topic during these outreach events. Oro Valley does not participate in FEMA's community rating system, and there are a few reasons for that. First, very few homes in Oro Valley fall within a FEMA map floodplains, so CRS participation would not provide meaningful insurance premium reductions for most residents. Second, our largest hazard is erosion rather than flooding, and we focus our resources on addressing that local need. After evaluating CRS requirements, we determined that the administrative cost outweighs the benefits for our community. Next slide, please. Even though flooding is less extensive here than in some neighboring jurisdictions, monsoon storms can still produce sudden and dangerous runoff. Here are a few key safety reminders. Never cross flooded roads, even shallow running water can be hazardous. Stay aware of weather alerts during monsoon season. Clear drains and culverts around your home to help manage runoff. And note that the town provides free sandbags beginning June 15th for residents who need to divert stormwater around structures. Next slide, please. Erosion is a major concern in our community due to steep foothill terrains and concentrated stormwater runoff. Excessive erosion can threaten roads, landscaping, and private property. You can help reduce erosion by maintaining vegetation, keeping drainage paths clear, and notifying us if you observe significant erosion issues near roads or washes. Next slide. So here's how you can contact us. If you need our assistance with floodplain questions, erosion concerns, or drainage issues, here's how to reach us. Our website's orovalleyaz.gov. When you're on the site, you could just navigate to government, departments, public works, stormwater utility, and we got a wealth of knowledge there. And our email's pw@orovalleyaz.gov. Phone number is 520-229-4850. Next slide, please. Town provides two convenient methods for checking a property's floodplain status. To begin, visit our stormwater management webpage, then click the yellow banner labeled floodplain information. This page links to both the floodplain inquiry map and the formal request process. Next slide. The first and most commonly used method is our floodplain inquiry map, which is free and available to the public. You can access it directly or through the floodplain information page. Once the map opens, simply enter the property address in the search bar next to the plus sign in the upper right corner. The map will zoom to the location and display any FEMA floodplain boundaries or any other regulatory floodplains that are within the area. Next slide, please. If you need an official determination for a property transaction or compliance need, You can submit a formal floodplain request through our customer portal. This service includes a $15 processing fee and provides verified assessment of the floodplain status. This is the best option when documentation is required. Next slide. Even though Oro Valley has relatively few mapped FEMA floodplains, flooding can still occur outside those areas, especially during intense monsoon storms. So we encourage all residents to consider purchasing flood insurance, as it can significantly reduce financial risk from unexpected storm events. Flood insurance is available through the National Flood Insurance Program for most properties, even though they're outside designated floodplains. Next slide. I want to thank you for your time, and our team is committed to helping residents understand local flood and erosion hazards and stay informed about available resources. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them now.
Krishana, do you see any
No.
questions in the chat?
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Ed Eastburn with the town of Marana.
Thank you, Elizabeth. My name is Edward Eastburn. I'm a certified floodplain manager for the town of Marana, as well as the acting floodplain administrator. The town of Marana is located in the north central portion of Pima County, nestled in the west with the Santa Cruz River, and to the northeast on the Tortolina Mountains, with I-10 pretty much splitting the town in two. A significant amount of the town of Marana's jurisdiction is located both in federally mapped special flood hazard areas as well as local flood and erosion hazard areas. Our primary duty here at Floodplain Management is to oversee development within these flood hazard areas to make sure that our infrastructure is built flood strong, our residents are prepared, and have plans when flooding occurs. We do have information, we make information available to the general public. Next slide, please. If one wishes to visit our office, we're located at 11555 West Civic Center Drive on the second floor here at the Marana Municipal Complex. We're open Monday through Fridays during normal business hours of 8 to 5. Here you'll see our phone number, which you can reach us directly, as well as a direct email address. In most cases, you'll be contacting me. Floodplain Management provides the following services: general floodplain information. That includes both verbal and written through a form called the Flood Hazard Information Form. We provide floodplain status, review of construction and development within the special and local flood hazard areas. We handle the permitting. We provide elevation certificates, the review of those certificates, and we maintain these on record indefinitely, or as long as we can. We also provide technical service, and we're always available for in-person consultations regarding floodplain questions or development in the flood hazard areas. Again, during normal business hours, Monday through Friday from 8 to 5. Next, please. It's a common belief that we only deal with buildings as far as floodplain oversight, but floodplain management here in the town of Marana actually oversees all development within the flood hazard areas, both federal and local. Uh, The town code does require the issuance of a floodplain use permit, commonly short-term FPUP, for any development within the flood and erosion hazard areas. Uh, Development can consist of all sorts of features, from site-built homes, manufactured homes, both small and large commercial structures, master plan communities, as well as infrastructure being built across washes or within those flood hazard areas. Development is overseen by town code, specifically the Land Development Chapter 1715 of the Town of Marana Town Code. Next, please. Like the commercials always talked about on the blue stake, phone before you dig. We do always recommend that individuals call floodplain management before starting any project to discuss what flood hazard or erosion hazards may be located on the property and how to best design for these features. Again, we are available both by phone, email, or walk-ins to discuss flood hazard areas. Next, please. The Town of Marana Floodplain Management is a participating member of the National Flood Insurance Program and the Community Rating System. We're a Class 7, which means we're afforded to our citizens a 15% discount on flood insurance. We do encourage that all property owners, whether you're mapped within a flood hazard area or not, carry flood insurance. It's been shown that the majority of claims that are put in for flood damage occur outside map floodplain areas. So again, Town of Marana always encourages all of our residents to carry flood insurance, whether you're in a map flood hazard area or not. Next, please. If you are within a flood hazard area and you're planning to do development, the process is to put in for a floodplain application. We do have the applications and the checklist available online, seen at this address. As part of that, the package would include a site plan, a brief, what we call a drainage statement, which establishes what the velocity of the flood waters or the base flood across a particular property is. Based upon that, we use that to determine whether scour is going to be required for structures or improvements. Should also have method of elevation if it's a structure or building. And then all this basic information is then emailed to devengineering@maranaaz.gov and is inputted and reviewed. All buildings within the FEMA and local flood hazard areas at the time of completion are required to submit a elevation certificate. That is, those are made available by the town floodplain manager. Once these have been completed, received, and accepted by the town, they're maintained on file so homeowners and businesses, if you should lose one or need a copy maybe from the past, more than likely we do have these available that we can provide you. We also maintain a list of engineers and surveyors who are certified to fill out the elevation certificates. Next, please. This is additional information that you can contact floodplain management here at the town of Marana. We do have a number of properties on our borders in which we have joint custody or oversight with Pima County Regional Flood Control. So sometimes you may need to contact both of us for information on properties. We also encourage individuals, especially with manufactured homes, to contact the Arizona Department of Housing to get information regarding manufactured homes in special flood hazard areas at this particular web address. And for individuals who'd like information on flood insurance or possibly getting a quote, you can do so at www.floodsmart.gov, which you are able to provide specific information, and you can get a general quote, as well as seeing some of the floodplain maps for your particular property or the areas around it. Next, please. As we've mentioned, flooding does occur within the town of Marana's jurisdiction. This picture shows one such a flooding event from 2006 in the western part of Marana, approximately where Marana Road crosses the Santa Cruz. Because we do have so much flooding areas within our jurisdiction, our goal is to, number one, make sure all of our community is built flood strong. We encourage the public to be prepared, have a plan for what to do when flooding occurs, both if you're at home or you or your family are away from home. And again, we always encourage everyone to carry flood insurance, whether you're in a MAP flood hazard area or not. Thank you for coming, and we appreciate the invitation. Any questions?
There are none in the chat.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ed. Our next presenter is from Pima County Regional Flood Control District, Dr. Greg Sachs.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Elizabeth, and thank you to the previous presenters. In similar fashion to the other jurisdictions that have spoken, Pima County is the regulatory authority in unincorporated Pima County, and we provide technical assistance to those areas. And then, as most of you may know, we also collect property taxes in all the jurisdictions in Pima County and do capital improvement projects and manage the major watercourses. So instead of talking about those roles, I'm going to talk a little bit more about what communities do, what individuals can do for themselves. So next slide. This is just a map of the whole county showing just how extensive our floodplains are. And to Edward's point, you can see how impacted Marana is in comparison to some of the other jurisdictions. In addition to these blue areas that are FEMA floodplains, Pima County has an active program to map floodplains that are not FEMA floodplains, and they are equal in acreage to this, mostly in the southeast. Next slide. So that's a little bit of what this looks like. This is from our GIS system. The blue are FEMA floodplains and the pink are locally designated floodplains. And as you can see, we do these studies in other jurisdictions as well, including the city of Tucson. This is just an example along the Rito. Next slide. This is just to describe and kind of make the point to the public that we always talk about the 1% annual chance flood, but that really means you have a 26% chance of being flooded during a 30-year mortgage. And these things go up to a 96% chance in 30 years of a 10-year flood occurring, which regulations don't necessarily protect from floodplain regulations, but rather building codes. So very important for homeowners to be insured even outside of FEMA floodplains. Next slide. So we've mentioned the CRS a couple times. That stands for the Community Rating System. And we've also mentioned the National Flood Insurance Program. The National Flood Insurance Program establishes minimum standards that communities meet, like Oro Valley, and then the communities that participate in CRS exceed those minimum standards and therefore achieve flood insurance discounts for their residents and businesses. So, we do hazard identification, including existing hazards and future conditions. We protect public safety via regulations and public infrastructure. As I mentioned before, Pima County Flood Control regulates within unincorporated Pima County, but we build infrastructure in all the jurisdictions. We do land acquisition, management, and restoration, and own a very significant percentage of the major water courses. And we provide public information and technical assistance on what individuals, HOAs, and organizations can do to protect themselves. Next slide. So the big question, I think, for anyone watching this presentation is what can individuals do? And, that comes down to avoiding hazardous areas in property purchase decisions or rentals, and not driving through floods. You can get floodplain use permits to assure that your property is adequately protected if you are in a floodplain. Within and outside of floodplains, we encourage people to get insurance, as Edward pointed out, and also to prepare before a flood. Next slide. So this is a little in the weeds, but lots of you in attendance and presenting know that the way FEMA and the insurance industry establishes flood insurance rates changed significantly about 3 years ago, and that what people are familiar with as FEMA flood insurance rate maps, also known as special flood hazard areas, is not used anymore for establishing flood insurance rates. It is still where elevation certificates are required for building and floodplain use permits. So, and then the second thing, what's called risk rating 2 did is expand the CRS discounts to the whole community, not just FEMA floodplains. In Pima County, we're a class 2 community. There's only 3 or 4 communities rated this high in the country, and our residents get a 40% discount. I'm not sure if I have the percentages correct for the other jurisdictions I've shown. And then the other thing that changed is that instead of using the assessor's full cash value, insurance is based on the replacement cost value at this time. Next slide. So what risk rating 2 didn't change is that there are rate cap increases set by Congress. There are premium discounts through CRS involvement, and federal insurance rate maps are still where flood insurance is required if you have a federally backed mortgage. And it's also where floodplain management regulations are required. There's a few surcharges that are not discounted. And then what was phased out is that the flood insurance rate maps are no longer used to set flood insurance rates. Preferred risk policies for properties that were outside of special flood hazard area was phased out, and grandfather rates were phased out. Next slide. So the way the rating method works now is basically through AI, a program called CoreLogic, and it uses first floor height determined, believe it or not, from Google Street View. And there's a bunch of assumptions, and unfortunately, local jurisdictions are not given access to this tool, so we cannot verify its accuracy. We have run enough tests to know that it is not always accurate. So what properties can do, if they believe their flood insurance quotes are too high, is that they can get ground elevation surveys to show that the CoreLogic maps are inaccurate. They can get an elevation certificate to show what their finished floor elevation really is. They can get quotes for replacement cost value. One of the most common things damaged in flooding is electrical equipment, and sometimes you can get quotes from electricians for replacing those things. And then, of course, you can provide, as a homeowner, you can provide pictures and verification of things you've done to flood-proof your property. Next slide. So this is probably a little bit in the weeds, and I would really only address if we have questions, but there's a certain set of variables that the flood insurance industry determines on the left there. And then there's variables in setting your flood insurance rates that the homeowner might be able to affect, such as how expensive of a home you have, how it's built, and so forth. Most of us can't really impact these things, but it's certainly a decision homeowners can make at purchase time and when they decide what kind of upgrades to do to their property. One of the odd things about risk rating 2 is that it uses distance to flooding source as the main determinant, and they use federal maps of what those flooding sources are that we haven't been given the opportunity to verify, which is demonstrated on the next slide. Or rather, not, but in a little more detail about what I just said. Distance to flooding has the greatest effect on rates. Flooding source is based on a national hydrography data set, which is the next slide I referred to, and LOMRs and LOMAs, letters of map revision, letters of map amendment, which homeowners can pursue, do not have any real bearance on flood insurance pricing anymore. However, they do get the homeowner out of the, if you get a letter of map revision or letter of map amendment to show that your home is not in the floodplain and that the federal maps are inaccurate, that does get you out of the mandatory purchase requirement for flood insurance. However, we still encourage people to buy flood insurance wherever they are. One of the things a lot of people aren't familiar with is that there is a maximum payout of $250,000. So houses worth more than that will not see a flood insurance payout for the full value of their home, even though their rates might be set on the full value of their home. Next slide. So this is just a demonstration of what that national hydrography data set is. They're lines, not polygons. And of course, we all know that floodplains are polygons. So we're not sure that risk rating 2 is an accurate way to rate houses. So we do encourage homeowners, business owners, and renters to contact their local authority, whether it be a municipality or the county, to get a more accurate picture of the flood risk on their property and then present that to their insurance agents. Next slide. So these links are very difficult for people to type, but you can, if you need more information, you can just Google Pima County Regional Flood Control and you'll find our web pages. There are specific pages for all kinds of different things like permitting and flood insurance that you can dig into. We have our email down here. But if anyone is looking for a particular person at the county, all of our emails are our names at pima.gov. So you can even write to the county administrator that way if you so desire. And our phone number is 724-4600, and we're located downtown Tucson, partnered in the same building as the city of Tucson. So with that, if anyone has any questions, please let me know.
There are none in the chat.
I have a
Thank you.
question, Greg.
Yes.
The insurance policies, it's a good idea then to contact your insurance agent and ask them how much a flood insurance policy might be for their structure. But before they do that, would it benefit the homeowner or the building owner to make sure that their machinery or electrical equipment that services the building is elevated? Because that could help with the pricing.
Yeah, that's been the most common claim in Pima County historically, is for flooded equipment, especially swamp coolers that tend to be installed on the ground. But I think all of our jurisdictions have been putting forth a major effort to make sure people are elevating their equipment with new construction. But especially with manufactured homes, we see a lot of equipment on the ground and, it gets wet, it needs replacement. So yes, definitely encourage homeowners to talk to their local jurisdiction about how to properly elevate any equipment they're getting. There are a lot of contractors out there who will install things on the ground and tell you permits aren't required. So as a homeowner, it's good due diligence to contact your local regulatory authority for advice and assistance on how to minimize damages should there be a flood.
And also, though, they could also get a better policy rate if they have their machinery in it, their water heater or AC unit, all that's elevated. Isn't that correct?
It's kind of hard to say it's a case by case basis, but when the insurance agent provides you a quote, if a property owner feels it's high, if they can ask the agent, it's going to be very hard for a homeowner unless they're pretty knowledgeable to know what their rate is based on. But they can certainly, if they think their elevation is higher than what their, this is the problem, is when somebody gets a quote, they don't see what goes into the quote. But in general, if they feel the rate is too high, or if they've seen a huge increase in their rate since risk rating 2 came into effect, problem is that's now been 3 or 4 years ago. So most people seeking policies today won't necessarily see that it's an increase. But yes, they can. I think that's what all of our jurisdictions do, is provide assistance to people to determine what their situation really is. And then, we can provide, or they can, we can advise them to get an elevation certificate to show that the elevations used in their insurance quotes may not be correct. But, that's appeals to insurance companies are not famously easy to do. But we are here to help people should they wish to do that.
I also noticed in one of your slides, it talked about replacement cost value being provided when the policy is paid out. So that's a
No, that's
benefit.
what the policy is based on. there's a cap on what the payout is at 250,000. So your
And
rate
so
is
if you,
based on your replacement cost value, but there is a cap in what they'll pay out.
and that's a change from previous
No,
computations.
that's a carryover for federal flood insurance.
Okay,
But some of you may be aware that the Trump administration is proposing to create an Obamacare-like flood insurance pool to move people off of federal flood insurance into private insurance. And we don't know if they'll have the same cap.
does anybody else have any questions? Okay, we'll go to our next slide.
Thank you.
Thanks, Greg. Our next presentation is on behalf of Nalo Valley at the town of Swarita. He is the Public Works Director. I don't believe Nalo is here, so I'm presenting his slides for him. This particular image is a bridge spanning the Santa Cruz River and is part of the Quail Crossing Boulevard Phase 2. This goes over the largest regional watercourse in the area. This town of Swarita has town code for their floodplain and erosion hazard management under Title 14, and all development and construction activities must adhere to this code. Those people that are within the town of Swarita can obtain a floodplain use permit application at swaritaaz.gov. And these permits are required for development in the floodplain within the town of Swarita. You can contact the town to find out if you're in the floodplain. Their contact information is 520-344-7100, or you can email them at pwpermits@swaritaaz.gov. Their address is the Public Works Department, 375 West Swarita Center Way, Swarita, Arizona 85629. Is there any questions for the town of Swarita?
There are none in the chat.
We'll go to our last presentation. This is a presentation for City of Tucson. I am Elizabeth Eberbach, and I work in floodplain administration at the City of Tucson. The City of Tucson is unique. We experience approximately 6 to 8 inches of rain each summer during our monsoon season. And we receive about 3 inches of rain in the winter. Comparably, Southern California gets about 3 inches mostly in the winter. So we get quite a bit more rain, and it's due to the monsoon activity that occurs during our summer months, coming from moisture that generally comes up the Baja or Sea Cortez areas. We experience various types of hazards related to stormwater and storms. As you can see, there's a large list of issues that are related to problems with our storms. A lot of the issues that the City of Tucson sees is swift water rescue. The City of Tucson Fire Department is specially trained in this particular type of activity and recovers dozens and dozens of people each year in our dip crossings and other areas where people are caught in fast moving water. Flooded homes is another problem. We do, I'll be talking a little bit about that in a moment. During our floodplain management plan update, we just got an approval for a 5-year update in November of 2025. This would be, we had for our first floodplain management plan was in 2015, and we got that adopted in 2016. And this is phase 5 of our Tucson stormwater management study. And in this latest study, we determined that 83% of the buildings within flood areas were considered or were determined to be built prior to our first flood maps. So that means that 83% of those structures that are within the floodplain could be slab on grade or not built high enough and are very vulnerable to flooding. For this reason, we encourage everyone in the city to consider getting flood insurance. We've experienced various types of storms, including storms that have occurred in the A Mountain area, where we had damaged homes and sediment transport from the runoff. And so everywhere in the city is vulnerable to flooding and flood damage. This was covered a little bit on the other presenter slides. Again, FEMA administers the National Flood Insurance Program, and that provides our flood insurance. It caps rates and talks to flood insurance. We also have the insurance rate maps, as we mentioned, and then the community rating system. Under that is a program where communities choose to participate. As Valley mentioned, they do not participate. They have a little bit higher stringent codes where they don't have many homes in the floodplain, and it's a newer community. So the rest of the communities do participate. I'm not sure about Sahuarita. In the town of, in the city of Tucson, we have a class 6, which equates to a 20% discount on any flood insurance policy. And that's whether you're in a high risk or low risk area. Anyone can buy flood insurance. And so you can buy flood insurance even if your mortgage lender doesn't require it. And at one point a few years ago, about 1/3 of the policies within the city of Tucson were policies obtained by homeowners that weren't in a FEMA flood zone. And it could be due to our local floodplain designation, or it could be that the homeowner experienced flooding in the past and they chose to get the insurance, or that they realize the importance of having flood insurance to cover this hazard. You can check the City of Tucson engineering staff, contact us, and we will check your flood status. There are various types of floodplains. As mentioned, there's the FEMA flood zones, and then we have local floodplain areas. We also compute erosion hazard setbacks. This type of hazard is important to consider, not only your flood status, but erosion hazard conditions. So when you're asking for flood status, ask for both FEMA flood status, local flood status, and your erosion hazard condition for your property. please remember that walls and fences require permits. This review is approximately $58, I believe, and it provides you with the opportunity for engineering to review your proposed structure to make sure you have proper openings. In the city of Tucson, we allow water to flow through the properties and follow natural floodplain patterns. Obstructing flow is a violation to the floodplain ordinance and carries with it prison time and monetary fines. So if you have questions about that, please let me know. Again, walls and fences need permits. There's various types of zones, and they could be low, medium, high risk, but as Greg mentioned, the risk rating 2.0 program determines what that flood insurance rate is going to be. But maps also provide you with opportunities to understand your risk physically, so you know how to protect your property or to prepare. There's various types of high-risk zones in the city of Tucson. The AE zones have elevation information. A zones do not have elevation information readily available and are higher risk areas because the data is not defined well. So if you're looking at property to purchase or to develop, you want to consider getting one of the AE zones or the other zones that have elevation data. Check with your local engineering staff, and we can provide you with other information regarding things like levee protected properties. In some locations within the city, there are areas that are protected from the 100-year storm with soil cement bank protection or other types of levee structures. We also have mapped areas of 500-year flood, and that's when catastrophic type of storm events could occur, and these are the anticipated areas of flooding. The city of Tucson regulates to the 100-year storm. However, critical facilities are looked at in the 500-year storm areas. Our communities work together with the Pima County Regional Flood Control District, and they have information on warning systems and depth of flow. This particular image doesn't show this data, but there is a website to take a look at Pima County precipitation data, and we'll have that in the chat box for you as well. There's other local or lower risk areas. They're both FEMA and local floodplain. The medium risk zones include things like X shaded areas and City of Tucson local floodplain. It is important to confirm with the City of Tucson whether or not you're in a floodplain or a erosion hazard setback. Some of our mapped information shows just the center line of the floodplain. So please check with the city for floodplain status. Like I said, local floodplain information. We do have some floodplain information, including flow rates as well as water surface elevations for some of our local floodplain. And again, walls and fences need permits. When you're thinking about storm events and flooding, flash flooding is one of our biggest issues. And with that comes sediment transport and erosion. Keep in mind that local floodplain does not require flood insurance. Only the FEMA high-risk zone areas require flood insurance if you have a federally backed loan. For those property owners who choose to obtain a policy, you would still get a 20% discount. And I don't know if that statement is correct, but essentially any area in the city of Tucson will get a 20% discount. But the X zone rates are supposed to be less expensive. But again, goes back to risk rating 2.0 and how that is determined with those actuarial data. Over a third of the flood insurance policies are in X zones. As I mentioned, this was some other information that we shared. This is the RITO in 2006. You can see this is a pretty raging storm event with debris flow in the RITO River there. We update our floodplain ordinances regularly, and we are actually looking at updating the floodplain ordinance to take out our fees. The fees might go up slightly. We don't anticipate a super large increase in floodplain use permitting fees. They're just outdated fees right now. We enforce codes so that we make sure that folks are safe. We sometimes will require flood vents depending on the type of construction. And we look for adverse impact compliance. We do not want to have a neighboring parcel that might be slab on grade. And if the new development comes in and encroaches that floodplain, that could cause increased flooding concerns for the neighboring property. So we look for those types of things when we do our review. The city of Tucson also provides a outreach opportunity. If people have questions about their particular property, you can contact us at Tucson Flood Erosion info@tucsonaz.gov, and we can set up a meeting to meet you at your site and look over your drainage concerns. We don't give specific direction on design, but we do provide general guidance. If you have questions about whether or not your building is insurable or not, it's a good idea to contact your insurance agent. Keep in mind, flood insurance is not automatically part of your regular insurance policy. You must ask for flood insurance separately. And you can ask about building or contents information, whether or not you want coverage for contents if you are a renter, or if you want building and contents if you own the property. We do various other activities that help us achieve extra points so that you can get lowered flood insurance discounts. The city of Tucson provides a program called Operation Splash, and we provide sandbags also during monsoons like Oro Valley. And we also set up barricades and signage warning the public about dangerous dip crossings. We also work with the Arizona Department of Water, ADWR, Water Resources, as well as other agencies, and to make sure that you're safe. The city of Tucson is currently looking at a flood exercise to set up a emergency response plan for one particular area within our city and practice that exercise. This provides us with information on whether or not we are going to be able to help that community as fast as we can, and it helps to identify areas where we can improve so that we can respond quickly. When there is a declaration of a disaster, having a flood insurance policy puts you at the top of the list for response. That forecast at the bottom of that slide was old, sorry. Anyway, other things you can do as a property owner: clear your gutters. Think about maybe some permanent flood proofing measures. You can contact us about some general guidance on that. Making sure you're regrading your property to include side yard swales. This will definitely help to divert lower nuisance flow type runoff away from the house. This is an important aspect for most homes within the city of Tucson. Also, you want to elevate your service equipment, your water heater, and your AC if it's not already elevated. And make sure all your valuables are not within the ground level of a flood-prone home. Make sure those are set at the second floor if you have a second floor, or located at some other, like a bank vault or something. Make sure you look at your electrical aspects as well. This is a serious issue during flood events. There are problems with this particular issue, so making sure your electrical equipment is elevated is important. We can help you with determining what that elevation is, and please contact us. Please do not store fuel tanks and other things in a floodplain as well. And then just to touch on post-fire, as Carrie mentioned, the surface of the ground becomes repellent to stormwater runoff with the charring of the vegetation. And so the absorption of the water is lessened, and that speeds the runoff. And when you have faster runoff, that's like a super flash flood. And so during these rain events, the water just bounces off that soil that's been affected by a fire, and then it becomes into a major significant runoff. And in the foothills, when you have these elevation changes with these steeper slopes, that increases erosion potential and creates debris flows. Properties located below these areas are at risk of higher risk for flooding. And 1 inch of flood water in a home can cause, I think it's gone up to 30-something thousand in damage. Most homeowners and renters insurance policies do not cover flood damage. So keep in mind, you've got to ask for a flood insurance policy. It does not automatically come with your regular insurance policy. In some cases, there is a 30-day wait period exception for wildfires, and it has to do with the determination by the fire chief as to whether or not the fire has been 100% contained, and then the policies can go into effect. This is a special condition, and you'd have to research that. This is why, as Carrie mentioned, it's important to, if you're considering flood insurance, you get it now, then in 30 days, that policy will then go into effect. That's for in most cases. And we talked again about removing dead vegetation from your home, and if it's brown, cut it down. Reduce your fire risk and prune your trees, and make sure you're not storing materials that might be flammable. make sure they're enclosed in a structure or set 30 feet or more from your buildings. And make sure you're frequently disposing of excess clippings. And you can sign up at myalerts.pema.gov, and this will provide you with local emergency alerts so that you can stay informed during a flood event. We encourage everyone to sign up for MyAlerts. Keep in mind that some water courses have 100-year protection from the flood event. In some locations, the bank protection only provides for a 50-year storm event protection. If you're considering a property near a water course, please check with your city or your town engineering staff and ask them whether or not they're outside of an erosion setback. Even when there's a soil cement and banked water course, there may be some risk. And again, the MLS has FEMA flood insurance required, yes or no. And the municipal flood permitting is what they're trying to get at, is that is there requirements for the municipality for flood? Yes, if you see yes and yes on the MLS, that means that you might have, you might be in a high risk floodplain and you might need floodplain use permitting. The city of Tucson provides various information, including mapping, as-built data, drainage plans. We also have elevation certificate, final plat data with drainage easements that might be impacting your property. And you can contact us at 520-791-5100 or 795-5550. Is that correct? No, 791-5550 is Department of Planning and Development Services, or 520-837-5341. We'll also provide you with an email address in the chat box for Planning and Development Services Department. And you can also contact Floodplain Administration at Tucson Flood Erosion Info at tucsonaz.gov. And you can also go through the Tucson Development Center online to request flood status information. Elevation certificate requests are provided also through the Tucson Development Center online. We have construction certificates, including elevation certificates. Keep in mind, those elevation certificates are only valid for the current FEMA firm panel dates. If you have to update your elevation certificate, you're welcome to talk to us and we can help you look at doing that. I think Greg has gone over some of the actuarial information, but essentially we used to have the NFIP started in '68, and then the Bigger Waters Flood Insurance Reform Act came from a couple congressmen. They wanted to make sure everybody was paying fair pricing on their premiums. Then in 2014, we had the Homeowner Flood Insurance Affordability Act. In that case, they were trying to lower premiums, but there was some addition of extra surcharges. These surcharges are not impacted by our discounts, which frustrates me as a floodplain manager, but I'm just throwing that in there. Anyway, but then the third attempt was the risk rating 2.0, which I believe should be risk rating 3.0. So some people ask the question, hey, why do we have this flood insurance changes and what's going on with this? And it's about, you know, making sure that we're paying the fair amount for flood insurance. The NFIP is supposed to be making sure we're paying fair amounts and not allowing insurance companies to overcharge. We don't have a lot of information on the black box. I did meet somebody who said that he would be able to give us all information that we'd want on the black box. So talk to you, Greg, about that later. There used to be a cap on the change in the flood insurance rate to not occur every 10 years at 10%, but it's now, it could possibly change at an increase of 18% per year with the last two iterations. The floodsmart.gov provides additional tools. You can check this website out, and keep in mind there's another website called floodsmart.com. We don't advise going to that website. It's a commercial business instead of the government FEMA website. So make sure you're typing in floodsmart.gov. And we just wanted to share with you, we have a floodplain management plan meeting July 17th from 4 to 5:30, and we'll be going over the summary of our 5-year update. Why does this look wrong? This is not correct. Yeah, this is old data. Sorry. Where's the slide? Yeah, I think it's coming up. Sorry. That should have been deleted. Sorry. City of Tucson contact information. We have various contact information. We'll provide a link to this meeting on our floodplain administration website at the City of Tucson. So you can review this. We'll also place some of these links in the chat box. Here it is. So on Tuesday, June 30th, we're going to have our floodplain management plan 5-year update summary. We'll go over the summary of our adopted floodplain management plan from November of 2025. And we'll talk about other erosion and flood hazard. And we'll also be offering a stormwater quality workshop June 25th, Thursday, from 1 to 2:30, also in the Public Works Building. Public is welcome to participate. We'll be talking about stormwater quality issues. Either one of these workshops or presentation and meetings will be held in the Public Works Building, 201 North Stone. Please park in the library parking and we can validate your parking. Bring your parking ticket with you. And we'll be sending out emails for the reminders. Please submit your email to the chat if you'd like information about these outreach events. Also, you can type in City of Tucson Floodplain Administration and check out our website for a bunch of other information, including how to protect your home. If you want others to see this presentation, we will be offering a repeat of this presentation Friday morning, May 22nd from 8 a.m. to 9:30. The links are provided at the City of Tucson Floodplain Administration website. Does anyone have any questions?
There are none in the chat.
Okay, when in doubt, find another route. I like to throw this one in. I'm just waiting for TPD to say something. Hey. Thank you for attending. See our team's chat for helpful links or email us at tucsonflooderosioninfo@tucsonaz.gov. Thank you. All right, I guess that's it.